We're going to learn all about the development of this amazing trail, its purpose, and how it has evolved over the course of 2 decades since the inception of the idea. First, I do have a couple of quick housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and posted to our website for future viewing, and we will have a Q&A session immediately following today's presentation. You can submit questions via the Q&A box throughout the session, and we'll try to address as many as possible during the last 15 minutes. So before we get to the presentation, some quick background on Montgomery Parks. We are a department of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. This is a bi-county agency made up of Prince George's County Parks, Recreation and Planning Departments, and Montgomery Planning and Parks Departments. We manage here in, we manage 421 parks in Montgomery County, spanning 37,000 acres of parkland across the county. And we have hundreds of amenities, from trails to lakes to historic sites and athletic facilities. We've won 6 gold medals from the National Recreation and Park Association, and we're very proud of that. So today, we're pleased to have David Brickley joining us. David conceived the 9/11 Trail while serving as the director of the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation. Under his leadership from 1998 to 2002, the state was awarded the National Gold Medal Award for the best managed state park system in America. Brickley previously served as an elected member of the Virginia House of Delegates from 1976 through 1998, and he was a legislative sponsor, co-founder, and chairman of the Virginia Railway Express, Virginia's commuter rail system, and authored legislation creating Leesylvania State Park. The Rails to Trails Conservancy named Brickley as one of its top 25 rail trail champions. So please join me in welcoming David Brickley.
Well, thank you very much. It is very much a pleasure to be with everyone this afternoon. I want to give a shout out, if he's around, to one of your great Marylanders, Eric Renner. Eric leads a lot of your walks, and he is on our board of directors for the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. And I've also got to give a shout out and thanks to Leanne Janowski, Leanne is our director of communications, and she helped me very much with this presentation today. So we're going to talk about a 1,300-mile trail of resiliency and honor. And it's particularly appropriate for both Montgomery County and Prince George's County because the trail intersects and goes through those 2 very important counties. So with that, let's just start and we'll go on. I think everybody can remember where they were on September 11th of 2001 and around 9 o'clock and plus in the morning. I certainly will never forget it. Be it the World Trade Center, be it the Pentagon, be it Flight 93, National Memorial, or Flight 93 in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. I'm going to go and try today, during the seminar series, to talk about how it started, how we got it together, and then go in and give you a tour of the trail. So let's just start. Next slide will be something that really hit us home. 2,977 lives lost from the impact. Lives are being lost every day since that date because of lung disease and other maladies. Over 90 countries were affected. It's something that we'll all remember. So the idea behind it started with the Mid-Atlantic Governors Conference on greenways, blueways, and green infrastructure. Paris Glendenning was your governor at the time, and I had suggested to my governor that we have a multi-state governors conference on trails and greenways as a evolution from our statewide only one. And he said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we planned it for September the 16th, 2001 at the Crystal City Marriott, just several blocks south of the Pentagon. We're going to have, oh my gosh, well over 1,000 people attending. Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia were the 3 core sponsors with support from the National Park Service. We had 13 states, and we had people coming all over from Australia and Switzerland. It was just going to be a wonderful conference. So when 9/11 happened, we had to decide what to do. We had a conference call that I arranged through our governor's offices with your counterparts, And fortunately, the idea was in agreement to go ahead with the conference. We may have, or you may remember that we had a no-flight zone then, so we only ended up having, I think, around 750 people at the conference, but it was a grand success. And at the beginning of the conference, we had our park staff give everyone an American flag, had a great conference. And at the end, I said, you know, we've got to find a way to merge our love of trails and greenways with this horrendous event that happened just days before. And so that was basically the start of the September 11th National Memorial Trail. It's a 1,300-mile trail. Switch on to the next slide if we can. You can see it right there. It goes through 6 states and the District of Columbia. 50% of it, approximately right now, is off-road. We're connecting and using overlays with other trails and greenways wherever we can. And the support that we have received from federal government, from the states, from localities, from regional governments has been nothing short of spectacular. It's really been a labor of love, and it's been wonderful to be able to work with everybody. Okay, next slide. There we go. And of course, we started developing this while at the same time, New York City was developing its National September 11th Memorial and Museum. Okay, Arlington, the National 9/11 Pentagon Memorial Project was being done. And I should say that right now, they are working on what's going to be a beautiful museum right across the street from the Pentagon Memorial Gardens right now. And then up in Flight 93 in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, they've done a beautiful memorial there to represent and honor all of those heroes of 9/11. Okay. Next. And it culminated and one of our major goals had been, well, we had 2 goals basically. One was to develop this trail, 1,300-mile trail, trying to represent what we could see in all the different states and localities that had anything to do with 9/11, and then also have a federal designation. And as you can see from that photograph, that's President Biden and our board of directors on October 23rd of this past year, signing House Resolution 2288. This is a copy of it right here, if it shows up at all. And was sponsored, chief sponsor was Jerry Connolly, one of our great congressmen from Virginia. And it was a labor of love with wonderful support from all of the members of the House and the Senate. And with that, it gave federal designation to the September 11th National Memorial Trail. And it provided that the National Park Service would be providing support for the trail. So with that, let's take a photo tour, if we can, of the trail. We're going to start right down in my backyard, which is just near Mount Vernon. And whoops, okay, Mount Vernon, George Washington. The purpose of the trail is not only to honor those heroes of 9/11, but really go back and talk about the resiliency of America since our country's founding. And so really, I think the appropriate place to start is at Mount Vernon. And then as we move up, we're going to be hitting the Mount Vernon Trail, which goes right from Mount Vernon on up through Alexandria, up into basically the Washington Memorial Bridge, and continues on. Okay, and then from there we cross over. Well, we've got the Pentagon Memorial first of all that you'll be able to see, and then I hope everybody's had a chance to see that. By the way, it's a beautiful memorial. It really is, and very respectful of those people that lost their lives that fateful day. Okay, and then we cross over the Memorial Bridge, getting into the District of Columbia. We follow from the Memorial Bridge through to the Lincoln Memorial, go right in front of that, with the background of the Washington Monument behind us, and then continue up to mile marker 0 of the C&O Canal through Georgetown. So you've got, as you know, 184.5 mile C&O Canal, which starts down in Georgetown and goes all the way up to Cumberland, Maryland. And everyone is working together to really make that the significant milestone and monuments that it should be. As we go up on that beautiful C&O Canal, and I happen to serve on the Federal Commission for the C&O Canal, it takes a lot of love and effort, but the superintendent and their staff just does an amazing job. Continue on all the way up, going through Montgomery County, which is so important. And one of the aspects or plugs that I'd like to put in, if I could, is that this would be a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to show the interrelationship and the connectivity between all the great work that you're doing in both Montgomery County and Prince George's County, and how this intersects with the work on the September 11th Trail, or the 9/11 Trail, as we often call it. So we just follow up from Georgetown through Montgomery County, go past Harper's Ferry, National Historical Park, and then we continue on up through hitting Antietam National Battlefield and other specific historic sites along the C&O Canal, managed by the National Park Service and others. And then we end up going to Cumberland, Maryland, which is the northern terminus of the C&O Canal. It's a great place. They've really done whatever they can to promote tourism, economic development. It's a great partnership up there, especially between the National Park Service and the town of Cumberland, Maryland. And it's a gateway to other parts of Maryland coming south, or Pennsylvania going north. And it seamlessly goes from the C&O Canal without many people even realizing that they go next onto the Great Allegheny Passage. And that's a 150-mile trail that goes from Cumberland, Maryland, up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was just like the C&O Canal, except that it's newer. It started with a couple people, primarily, I think, Linda McKenna Box, who was just a resident of Pennsylvania, who said, we've got to go ahead and save this trail from not being a trail, and let's develop it into the potential that it has to be. And so they worked together tirelessly and did it. And so, as you can see, that Great Allegheny Passage goes up 150 miles. I should mention that the C&O, or the Great Allegheny Passage, is working on a grant right now where they're going to be putting in something like 58 electric stations for e-bikes and things along that line, just because of the tremendous change in how we operate, especially the older population, going from the regular pure pedal bikes or walking into now using e-bikes. So they're working on having stations there along the entire 150 miles. But when we leave Cumberland, Maryland, if you look at the map, we end up going to the little town of Garrett, which is just south of Rockwood, and north of Myersdale. And from there, which is in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, we head east for 21 miles to Flight 93. And what you're seeing here is the groundbreaking that we had for the first standalone section of the September 11th National Memorial Trail. Heretofore that I've shown you, and in most of the other trail sections that I'm going to show later, we are all relying on existing trails or backcountry roads or whatever it happens to be. But this case, if we go from Garrett going east to Flight 93, will be and is the first section that's standalone just for the 9/11 trail itself. And again, tremendous support from the localities and the state in this project. So that was our groundbreaking when we did it. And then the next slide shows, on a very windy and rainy day, it was like a hurricane went through in 5 minutes. We had the actual ribbon cutting for basically the first mile of the trail. And as I said, it'll continue through for 21 miles to Flight 93. And that was done in April of last year. And again, the trail will connect to Flight 93 National Memorial. The superintendent, Steve Clark, has been a great friend of the 9/11 Trail. He looks at it as a significant part of his story that he's trying to tell about Flight 93. And it's if you haven't been up to that memorial, it is a beautiful memorial on a huge expanse of land, because it was basically a big field where Flight 93 came crashing into the ground when those heroes, hearing on their cell phones that in fact the other two structures had been hit, knew that this one was headed back to Washington and probably hitting the Capitol. So they gave up their lives for all of us. It was really, really spectacular. So it's a great site, and encourage all of you to visit it. So from there, and we're in Western PA right now, and if you could picture in your mind, you've got Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on the west. You've got Philadelphia basically on the east, and Harrisburg in the center. And there are different populations, different communities, different geography, because you're in the Allegheny Mountains going into around Pittsburgh, and it's rough, and it's hilly, and the state of Pennsylvania has been working for many, many years to have a long distance trail going from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia and connecting all those cities and towns and villages in between. And in fact, now the September 11th National Memorial Trail is the first major connection from Pittsburgh basically to Philadelphia and Harrisburg in between. So Pennsylvania has really grabbed a hold of this trail. They love it, very supportive, and we are working with getting section by section by section done. So we're at Flight 93, and then we're going to head east. You've got Johnstown flood. Why do we have Johnstown flood in here? Well, that's another example of the resiliency of America that we're trying to tell the story of. Again, not just the heroes of 9/11, but also those communities that have, in this case, a whole town got wiped out by the breaking of the dam, and hundreds and hundreds of people were killed, but yet Johnstown came back because of the go-to-itness of the population. And so we've got the National Memorial there, and it's something that we want to make sure that everybody can see as they take this journey. Okay, and as we go east, we'll go through a number of other different sites. We've got the Allegheny Incline in between, and again, a lot of other places that show the history and the significance of Pennsylvania, in this case, going right from the days of our founding. But we end up at the capital in Harrisburg, and you notice that we do kind of a loop around the bottom from Harrisburg. And what we're trying to do there is hit the towns of Lancaster, Chambersburg, and Gettysburg, which would be the next stop here on our tour. Oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm one slide ahead of myself. That's part of our group that we had an alliance meeting in Harrisburg, a meeting with the community. We did a lot of meetings with the community on where the specific sites should be and what we should be honoring or not. So that was one of our meetings on a code day in Harrisburg. Okay. And then again, as I just had said, we wanted to hit Gettysburg. Gettysburg was an important part of American history. So we had to go and ensure that we put that on our site. So that's why that's probably the main reason you're seeing this loop that we're doing, although the other sites such as Lancaster and Chambersburg and some of the others are very important, but we needed to go and do Gettysburg. So you literally have a loop that you can do, get right on back to Harrisburg if you want, and then continue east. Go all the way over near the Pennsylvania border, Pennsylvania-New Jersey border, to the town of Bethlehem. Bethlehem, this is a picture of the steel plant. As many of you know, at one time, the Bethlehem Steelworks were the largest steelworks in the world. And then they fell into a state of disrepair. Bethlehem, Allentown area has said, look, we've got to find a way to try to get us back to where we were before. It may not be the major steel mill or plant in the world anymore, but we certainly can try to retrofit this to make it a major tourist attraction. And that's exactly what they've done. It's become a major tourist attraction. There's even a casino next to the old steel plant. You can go do tours there. You've got all kinds of facilities, and Bethlehem was just a great partner to work with as we developed our trail. And that's one of the planning meetings that we had years ago, where the elected officials and the planning director said, yes, let's go ahead and work together. So we must have done, I bet we did 25 of these meetings just like this, probably more, maybe double that, where we just sat down with our maps and got the community in, advertised it ahead of time and said, we want to connect the 3 9/11 sites, but how do we connect it in between? And what's important to you as a community? And it just was a labor of love. So, okay. And then we go on and we hit the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Center. That's 165 miles of beautiful greenway and trails and canals and streams going through eastern Pennsylvania. And that's all part of it. So again, it's an overlay on an existing facility that in this case is managed by the National Park Service. Yeah. And we end up then at the Delaware Water Gap. The Delaware Water Gap is the water gap that separates Pennsylvania on the west from New Jersey on the east. And so we needed to make sure that we went through the Delaware Water Gap. It used to be a major tourist attraction in probably 2 centuries ago, when they certainly try to promote tourism in every way that they can. So we wanted to make sure that we hit that. And then we continue from there into New Jersey. And what we did here with New Jersey is that several years before 9/11 happened, a group of trail and greenway people that love trails and greenways just as much as you all and I love them. And they developed what they called the Liberty Water Gap Trail. And if you can look at that map, you see that it's 130 miles. It connects 2 landmarks, the Delaware Water Gap, which you just saw a picture of at the western part of New Jersey, and all the way to the east, the Statue of Liberty. So they called it the Liberty Water Gap Trail. And it connects 6 different trails, forming this 130-mile connected route. And this is what trails and greenways are all about. And so each one of these trails, the Paulinskill Valley Trail, the Patriots Path Trail, the Lenape Trail, they're all slightly different in character and geography and history, but they merge it all together and connect this very walkable and in some cases cyclable trail going all the way across the state of New Jersey, just as we are working on going all across the state of Pennsylvania. And it goes again all the way over to Jersey City, and then the Hudson River is over there. And you'll see kind of in the middle there, where it says Patriots Path, Morristown. And so Morristown is a special place. The governing body of Morristown, next slide, please, really did a great job. And in Morris County, you've got Washington's headquarters. You got to have a stop there, and we do. So we had a number of meetings in Morris County, the Morris Township, and that was one of our annual meetings that we had there. And again, this is the case of where the community and local governments really worked well together in fashioning this product for the benefit of thousands and thousands of people. Okay. Our latest project is called the Essex Hudson Greenway. This goes through probably the densest part of the state of New Jersey, over in Jersey City and Bloomfield, Montclair, all Newark, all on the most eastern section of New Jersey before you cross the Hudson River into New York City. This is going to be, well, it's going to be about a 9.5 mile greenway. It's going to be wonderful. It's based on the abandoned railroad tracks that the Southern Railroad owns right now. It was an initial project of the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition, which was a coalition formed a number of years ago of all the different biking and cycling and hiking groups in the state, and the September 11th National Memorial Trail. We've got board members from both that work very closely together, worked it along. Southern Railway said that they were interested in selling it. We were able to get the feds involved, and we specifically were able to get the state of New Jersey involved, because this will be a major linkage for them going, especially into New York City, and then going to the west in the less populated parts of New Jersey. And if I'm knocking on wood, come June the 30th, there will be a ceremony conducted by the governor of New Jersey to officially make the acquisition a reality, and then start building the actual trail and greenway along there. It'll be very similar in many parts to High Bridge Trail in New York City, if any of you are familiar with that. So it is going to be a wonderful linkage for the September 11th National Memorial Trail, and we couldn't be happier with the support that we've received from New Jersey. So when we get to New Jersey, we've got Jersey City, and we end up at Liberty State Park. That's State Park managed by the state of New Jersey. It's beautiful. You can see the Statue of Liberty from the railings right there to your left. It's a wonderful bikeable as well as walkable facility, very supportive. And we've had a number of meetings there. You see the next slide. That's one of our meetings where we had literally riding across, doing the 1,300-mile ride. That guy second on the left with the gray hair and beard and glasses, that again is Eric Brenner from New Jersey, and from Maryland, and a great friend of the 9/11 trail. So that was one of the bike rides that we did. It's great. And then they've got right behind those cyclists is the Empty Sky Memorial. And we'll show the next slide showing leaving the Liberty State Park and going through the Empty Sky Memorial. And it's aligned up, the architect had aligned it so that it goes right to connect with where the World Trade Center was. It's a straight line, pretty beautiful. It's an amazing piece of architecture. And so you say, well, what do we do here? Because we got a river in between. Well, we take a ferry across and we get into New York City. And New York City has done just a marvelous job in its rehabilitation of some of the roads in Greenway, or some of the roads they've got, to make it a very bikeable community right down the middle of some major roads right there. And so we go to Ground Zero, and that is just, again, a marvelous site which you all have to see as you go down in the depths of the museum itself. Next slide. And that's a picture of it from above, looking down. And then from New York City, we follow, in many respects, the East Coast Greenway. We follow along the skyline and the border of New York City. It's really a very bikeable route. And again, we try to use the East Coast Greenway, which is what, a 33,000 mile greenway all the way from Maine down to Key West, Florida. The East Coast Greenway, which I used to be on the board for many years, its mission is connecting cities. And so in many ways, our route follows the same route as the East Coast Greenway, but there are deviations where we do now and where we'll be doing in the future to try to emphasize again, the resilience of America, the history of America, being able to honor those heroes of 9/11. And so there'll be a slight deviation because it's a work in progress, but we basically use the route of the East Coast Greenway. And so then we're going in from New York City, back into New Jersey, and we get back into Pennsylvania again. The Garden of Reflection is Pennsylvania's signature memorial for what happened on 9/11. It's on the eastern end of the county in Bucks County, or eastern of the state in Bucks County, and it's a very somber and moving memorial. Okay, and then we go down into Philadelphia. That's one of the memorials. What we do see, it's so nice that we see these memorials. Many of them try to use a piece of the World Trade Center structure that came tumbling down, like using this piece right here. But each of these little towns or larger cities have their own 9/11 memorial where they're honoring what happened on 9/11, or in many respects, honoring a member of their community who lost his or her life during the tragedy on 9/11. Okay. And then we go into Delaware, and Delaware is our smallest state per se, and using the Delaware Riverwalk. Again, this is an existing trail, in this case, a boardwalk that we use, and it works out very, very well. Okay. Now we continue south into Baltimore, and we've had a number of meetings in Baltimore at the harbor, and that's the 9/11 Memorial for Maryland in Baltimore, the World Trade Center building. Okay. And then go into Annapolis, beautiful, beautiful city, and lots of history. Then we continue on south. And then we go through Maryland, through Prince George's County. We end up going through those counties and then down into Anacostia and hitting the Anacostia River trails, which has just been great how Maryland and DC have worked together to really reinvigorate and show the potential that we've got in our Washington capital area for what can be if we all work together. Okay. And then some of us were there when last year when they opened the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, going from crossing over the Anacostia River from one side of Washington to the other. I have specifically, as you can see, specifically not shown a lot of sites in Maryland, in Montgomery County, Maryland, and in Prince George's County, Maryland, because that is your bailiwick. You know what you've got there, but I will put a plug in right now that what we really would like to see happen is work together in any way possible, so that when you've got your literature there showing your great constituencies, what you've got to offer for the people, that we can also say, yes, and as part of the September 11th National Memorial Trail. Okay, next. Then we go into Washington, go past the Capitol, hit the Navy Yard, then going past the Capitol with the new restaurants and everything all along the revitalized Washington, D.C., going across the mall into the Lincoln Memorial again, and then ending up after the Lincoln Memorial, crossing over the bridge, the Potomac River, again back into Virginia. Next slide. Crossing the same bridge that we started, and we end up back at the Pentagon Memorial again, And that's a very pretty sight there. Okay, next. And what I'd like to show you is we had, when Pennsylvania just very recently announced that the September 11th National Memorial Trail would be a major route for crossing the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We had a dedication, and Cindy Dunn, who is the secretary of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, was there and made some very, I think, very good remarks. So what I've tried to do here, since I've got a couple minutes online, is to be able to show you for about 4 minutes what she said. Now, again, it was appropriate for Pennsylvania, but it really is appropriate for Maryland and, in fact, all the other states. So let's see if we can show that.
Good morning. On behalf of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, I would like to welcome you to Delaware Canal State Park and Washington Crossing Historic Park for the September 11th National Memorial Trail statewide Major Greenway announcement. It is my honor to introduce the Secretary of DCNR, Cindy Adams-Dunn.
Thank you, Mike. The item of significance today is a designation that goes well beyond this very, very special place in Pennsylvania. We're designating the 9/11 National Memorial Trail as a statewide greenway. And there's a lot of significance to us at DCNR. It's like taking something from a small local trail and recognizing its importance statewide and beyond. In October, President Biden signed into law a designation for the 9/11 Memorial Trail as a national trail and authorized the Secretary of Interior to designate the route for the 9/11 National Memorial Trail. And as you probably know, it links Manhattan to the Pentagon to Flight 93, and links a number of significant trails across Pennsylvania on that route. And it's got significance more than in its geography, but in its depth and its remembrance and its place in our history. I was just at Flight 93 for the 20th anniversary on September 11th, and it was a day I always remember, as we all remember 9/11 itself. But thinking about the 40 heroes of Flight 93 who together decided to take down the plane because the news they were getting from their cell phones, they knew about the Pentagon, they knew about the trade towers in Manhattan, they knew it was an act of terrorism and that this plane was making a turn for DC, and they knew they had to take the plane down. They decided it was the best of democratic values to decide together to give up their own lives for the benefit of all of us. And so when you think about those people, they didn't have a lot of time for that decision. They didn't have a lot of time to think about what they were doing. They just knew they had to do it, and they acted. But how do you best honor that sacrifice? How do you honor the sacrifice of the hundreds of first responders that have lost their lives and their health? How do you honor the loss of life across the 9/11 terrorist attack? And you do it by creating something that unites, and that really highlights the value of this democracy, and it knits communities together, and it improves people's health and gives them some hope and gives them some economic return. And the best way to honor them is to have the biggest vision possible for the 9/11 National Memorial Trail, to link it to as many communities and elevate it as much as possible. So, when Andy Hamilton and the board from the 9/11 Memorial Trail talked about bringing on this designation and enhancing it across Pennsylvania, we said, yeah, we'll do everything we can to make it real for as many Pennsylvanians, to tell that story and remember that story, and to bring joy and hope and connection across the route in as many places as we can. So DCNR for us, it links together 3 state parks, a new 1.5-mile section to connect the Great Allegheny Passage to 9/11. Again, that's a route down to DC. You can make a big loop to DC. The York Heritage Rail Trail, North Delaware, the East Coast Greenway.
So that was Cindy Dunn, and she talks about something that unites, and that's what this trail does. It's not just a trail. Most people will be going just for the day. There'll be somebody will be going for a couple of days. There'll be others. We've got on June the 4th about 20 different riders cycling the entire 1,300 miles, leaving from the Pentagon and circling around just what I just showed you and coming back to the Pentagon in a 21-day period. But it's more, especially in today's dissension that we see so much in our communities and among neighbors and friends and everything else. This hopefully, and what we believe to be, is a trail that unites, that tells about our history, that can be fun to walk on, fun to cycle on. You can do a companion driving route on it also. But at the same time, you're going to see something about the history of our country, the resiliency of our country, learn more about those heroes of 9/11, and learn about all the good, positive things that America has to offer. So that's what the 9/11 Trail is all about. And I can just say on behalf of the board of September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance that we really look forward to working with you because Prince George's County and Montgomery County are such vital parts of this trail complex. So look forward to doing it. And I think the best thing for me now to do is say thanks, and I'll open up to any questions that we've got.
Hi, I am Ho-Jung Garland, Park Planning Supervisor. Thank you so much for coming to share your story and this like a wonderful 9/11 trail with us. I think this is really tremendous that the while trail is like definitely one of the popular amenities. A lot of people can actually enjoy physical exercise while they're learning about the histories and culture. So I think that this is like wonderful idea. So thank you for that. By the way, it looks like our chairman, Casey Anderson, is on the camera. Would you like to say something about this session?
Well, I think this is interesting to see how this trail relates to some of our efforts to build out our local trail network. And I wonder if our speaker could talk a little bit about connections to other trails to make this not only the large project, but also to make sure that it interconnects with local destinations and make sure that the bigger trail that's being established is usable and accessible and is apparent to all the people who might benefit from it at each one of the places it passes through, including Montgomery County.
Well, great question, Casey. And first of all, thank you and your corps of staff and volunteers that does such a great job for your 2 counties. We look at the route of the 9/11 Trail, that 1,300 miles is a spine route. And with that spine route, we've got all these different tentacles connecting different sites that you've got in Montgomery County or in Prince George's County, and connecting it all together so that they may be spending part of the day on the 9/11 Trail, or in this case, the C&O Canal, or wherever it happened to be if you're in Montgomery County, but then be able to enjoy all the other benefits, the amenities that you and your colleagues have provided over the last number of decades. So it's very much a partnership. And that partnership has to try to be developed as strongly as we possibly can. So we look forward to working with you on that and just seeing where it's going to go, because the potential is there. And by doing that, that benefits everyone. It benefits your citizens by understanding where they can go, all the different places to enjoy and recreate and have fun. At the same time, learn a little bit about the history of the two counties and the spirit of what happened on the 9/11 trail.
Sounds great. Casey, would you like to facilitate? Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I think this highlights, the need for us to continue to work to connect our trail network to some of the regional trails and even this trail, because we don't control the C&O Canal, but we do have quite a bit of parkland in the western part of the county that is, if not adjacent, then in proximity to the C&O Canal. And I think we could probably take advantage of this to, create more efficient and attractive access to the canal and help market that opportunity to more people who might not otherwise realize it's available.
I could not agree more. I wake up in the morning talking about connectivity and going to bed talking about connectivity. So the opportunities with the Maryland Capital Area Capital Park and Planning Commission are just, I think, out of the bounds. I mean, we can do whatever we want to do, and it'll all benefit every one of our citizens.
Thank you. I mean, speaking of actually connectivity, is 1,300 miles of 9/11? Is it completely all done, or do you have any plan to expand? If so, how would you like to actually expand? Because like sometimes acquisition and topographic challenge and all that kind of thing is not easy.
Well, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, we're still working on the Appalachian Trail after all these many decades. So we change where changes are for the benefit, and we do that. Right now, as I said, about 50% of it is off-road, taking advantage of existing greenways and trails. We obviously are working to have a greater percentage off-road. Won't be in my lifetime, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we had an entire off-road section? Although I've got to say, when we finish up this section from the 21 miles from Flight 93 to that little town of Garrett on the Great Allegheny Passage, just think, you'll be able to bike or to walk all the way from Flight 93 going south to the Pentagon Memorial, or from the Pentagon Memorial going north with barely a traffic light. I mean, it will be by and large a completely off-road section, and that potential is something we all ought to be working about, because in this case for you, it'll be a big section of it's going to go right through Montgomery County, Maryland. So it's a work in progress. You can get on our website, it's 911trail.org, and you can narrow right on down to any particular section of the trail that you want to look at. But it's all in place right now. It's just a matter of us working together to try to continually improve it as the years go on.
Speaking of is all ready, and looks like some of our audience is actually ready to go to by packing their backpacks and on the road. So one of the question is like, is there any camping site along the trail, so that way they can enjoy riding and staying and enjoying riding, continue their journey?
Yes, certainly there are. If you go just on the C&O Canal as an example, there are campsites all along the way, and I've done that with my kids all the way up to Cumberland, Maryland. But the other advantage you've got is you've got within your community, you've got B&Bs, you've got hotels and motels and places to stay along the way, and so that helps the economic development aspect of the county, meaning more tax dollars going into the county and staying in the county. So it's a win-win for everybody at the same time that they are having a fantastic day or 2 days or a week, whatever it happens to be.
Sounds great. You can actually being connected with tourism while they're there, to be able to visit some of the small town and be off the trail and be able to continue their journey and come back as well. So speaking of dollar and economic development, one of our audience's question is also, what is actually next step to appropriate the timeline for federal support for the 9/11 trail, will this include a signage, map, or other support? So how much like support we're anticipating from the federal, and therefore as outcome, what kind of amenities we can provide more?
Yeah, we're starting a series of meetings with the National Park Service. Again, I mentioned the superintendent of the Flight 93 Memorial, since that specifically was about 9/11. But the federal legislation has the National Park Service providing support. Signage will be a very big area to work on. We've got a great signage program in Pennsylvania right now that is being put in place. There'll be brochures, both paper hard copies and electronic brochures. And with this legislation, I think that we're going to be seeing, in fact, I know in the years to come, a wonderful, wonderful partnership with the National Park Service. And with that, it really means having a great partnership with localities all along the 1,300 miles of the 9/11 trail. We've also worked on part of the funding on the section from the little town of Garrett over to Flight 93 is going through transportation funds too. So we're working on that, and there'll be transportation funds available from the federal government working on this new Essex Hudson section on the eastern part of New Jersey. So we're always looking for transportation funding and partnerships with the National Park Service, and certainly partnerships with every nonprofit and local governing planning entity and recreation entity that we can find along the states.
Yeah, speaking of partnership, looks like the East Coast Greenway Alliance is definitely having interested to do the great collaboration together. So on the side channel, I will actually publish. It looks like there's definitely good interest of doing the partnership as well. And also, there is interested to see if there is any kind of like activation event planned, like to celebrate to commemorate 9/11s this year. Could there be any activities?
Oh, well, there certainly are. I mean, the main thing that happens is we work with the 3 9/11 sites and almost rotate between the Pentagon Memorial, between Flight 93, and between the National 9/11 Memorial in New York City. So those 3 sites are there are touchstones, and we have programs centered all along there. We will be having in September a specific ride, a cycling ride, going from Garrett to Flight 93 and back. And I think that's going to happen the week after the actual commemoration of that national tragedy on 9/11. So we try not to have activities for tourism at the same time as the actual memorial ceremonies, which are respectful of the families that lost lives on 9/11, and they specifically are normally held on September 11th. But before and after, we do a lot of activities on all 3 sites.
That sounds great. Speaking of activities, like, has there been any record or counting about how many trails actually, how many people actually completed this enormously long trail? And has there been any kind of celebration on that?
Well, that's a good question. We've had a number of people that have. One lady walked the entire trail. We've had a number of people that have cycled the entire trail. Your own Eric Brenner from Montgomery County, or from Maryland anyway, has been one of those that has done that. But we're probably not very good at keeping track of how many there are, and that probably ought to be something that we should be improving on. So we'll get a better handle on that. We do see, though, we have found from the studies we've seen that there is a definite increase in tourism on those specific sections of the trail, be they in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Maryland or wherever. So it's one is building on the other.
That sounds wonderful. I'm gonna wrap it up with the last question, and then maybe perhaps our chairman, Casey Anderson, can speak some closing remark if he can. But the last question is that I think people are very enthusiastic after the session today. So they would love to be actually involved. How can people be more involved to support and experience this wonderful trail?
I'll tell you what they can do. If they get on our website, 911trail.org, and just send in an email that they'd like to be involved, we would like to have them involved. The more citizens that are involved in this project, it's better for everyone. So, I'm really blessed to be able to have this presentation for your very august group today. And we look forward to getting a lot of participants from the meeting saying, hey, I'd like to be part of the 9/11 Trail.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Brickley. It really is, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of trails. They serve so many different important purposes. Some of them are obvious, like encouraging physical activity, getting outdoors. Some of them may be a little less obvious, like the opportunity for social engagement and connection with other people. And I think that your presentation highlights yet another function that trails can serve, which is to document and remind people of an important historical event and some of our shared experience. So really appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you. We really appreciate all of the audience's participation in today, and the wonderful speakers' participation. And our park department will be continuing our session after fall. So we'll be continuing with the more robust and more exciting topics. And we always welcome also topical suggestion as well. So thank you so much for participating, and have a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.